Hey guys, been a little while since I did a stream, so I thought I'd ping one up, see what you guys are up to, do an hour or so. Got about £500 to put in portfolio this week, still trying to decide where to put it. All suggestions welcome. Whether that be crypto or stocks. Considering at the moment, possibly internet computer again. Been on a little bit of a downtrend with all of the others. Not quite as bad as some. But they do have a very large development team, so sort of considering going with that. Possibly one or two different stocks. I've been looking at Himax Technologies again, so bought some of this with the money I got from Kroger. And it's come down reasonable amount since I bought. Bought in the 12s. Still look pretty good. So thinking about them as well. So drop a comment or question in the chat. Evening Westy. Alright. Not too bad. Watching the fallout of a fairly rough week. Nothing too much to sort of get worried about, I don't think. We've got the Evergrande issues that everyone's probably seen in the news. Potentially going bankrupt on Thursday, or possibly next week, possibly not. Seems to be affecting quite a lot of markets. Hadn't realised they're sort of the most indebted company in the world. So if you look at their debt, drop down cash and everything. If I'm reading it right, so including sort of current and non-current liabilities. I guess this isn't all debt, it's just liabilities. Yeah, maybe not, but 1.9 trillion yuan. Certainly $300 billion in total liabilities, which is a hell of a lot. They're only trying to be paying, I think, $83 million on Thursday. So if they can't pay that, there's serious concerns. Oh, Kyle does trading. Hello, Adam. How you all doing? Drop a question in the chat if you want to know anything. Any questions on crypto maybe, or any questions on the portfolio you may have seen, or let us know what you're investing in yourself. Are you buying the dip on anything? Hear this term an awful lot. I sort of I wonder, you guys probably know I'm more bearish than most. So when I sort of hear buying the dip, then sort of wonder if we get a major crash again, or a major sort of, a year's downturn, maybe a year and a half's downturn, as has come before. Sort of get people saying buy the dip in the first sort of month or two, and then maybe less so, sort of buying the dip in the next couple of months. But I think after sort of 6 months or more, a year or more, going to be pretty tough to keep saying buy the dip. Wondering how that's going to go. I think people sort of look at the last March 2020 crash and think everything, every downturn is like that. But some of them can take a hell of a lot longer. Oh, Craig. Inkmatic. Alright. You bought a bit of Barbart? Yeah. Everyone's thinking that at the moment. Or sort of bit of a Marmite company at the moment. The whole of China, either thinking wouldn't touch it with a barge pole because it's China, or thinking buy the dip. Still wondering how any sort of delisting issues would play out, but don't think it would. Obviously, it wouldn't hurt the company. It might hurt the stock price a little. Not sure whether anything will sort of come out as a result of this Evergrande, if it affects other markets. Craig nibbled at Lockheed and 3M. Nice. Nothing much tasty. People just throwing money at these dips too early. Not many bargains. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's sort of, something drops 3% and people are, immediately saying buy the dip, buy the dip. And, you look back at sort of previous crashes. Take a look at SPY. So go back to 2018. 2008. So you sort of had what was pretty much the top back in sort of late 2007. 156. So this was sort of 1500 or so on the S&P 500. SPY is always sort of a tenth of that. Yeah, and you didn't sort of bottom until first week in 2009 in March. So yeah, you're looking at sort of a year and a half really. So you get these first sort of couple of drop months, people be saying buy the dip, it's good times, and then you get a little rally and then it drops again and you get buy the dip again, couple more months, then a great big drop. Obviously this would hurt people pretty hard if they've been fully invested and buy the dip, then you lose, what's this, 30%? Yeah, pretty much 30%. And sort of a bit of choppy action, some down, some up, and then sort of the final drop in 2009, which again was sort of 25% just in the last month really. So yeah, a year and a half drop. Not sure people are quite prepared for this. Evergrande is expected to default on the payments on Thursday. Yeah, not sure how much it'll affect the other markets. I don't think China would sort of let it spread out to the whole world. They want to be seen as, my opinion at least, they want to be seen as a sort of a world superpower now. Don't think they're going to want to sort of corrupt the whole financial system around the world. So I think they would probably just have to print a bit of money and bail some people out. Make sure it's contained to just sort of Evergrande. Adam, how would you invest 20,000 split into 4k or 5k investments? If it's your first 20,000, yeah, I guess you could maybe go sort of 4 or 5 concentrated investments. I'm always sort of one for diversification, so I guess I would probably have a little bit more, but yeah, maybe for the first sort of 20,000, yeah, I would maybe go sort of 10 maybe rather than 4 or 5, sort of 2,000 each in a few different sectors, a few different regions maybe, if you can combine sort of all of that. I know a lot of people sort of tend to focus just on the US. Sort of think there's a little bit of risk in that, even if they are sort of household names, you know, and global companies. They're still headquartered in the US, so you can get sort of regulation from Congress, the US government, that would sort of hit all of them at the same time. So yeah, I do like to sort of have a bit of geographic diversification as well. Maybe have a little bit of gold in there, a bit of maybe even a bit of crypto if you want to go speculative and a bit risky. Is there any upside to house builders at this point? House prices at all-time highs, yeah. There is that. I do like Lennar on my US side. So, yeah, this is my sort of real estate side. So I've got Taylor Wimpey and Barrett. Both seem reasonably good. There's not quite the best sort of guidance that you get on UK companies, so it's a little bit difficult to look at these. But certainly Lennar on the US side seem to be having a little bit of a drop, but I've had pretty good income, good cash flow recently, so can't see that changing dramatically. Could have a bit of a downturn in US house prices, but yeah, UK sort of seems to be fine. I would think Taylor Wimpey and Barrett should be fine. Should be a little bit of upside. Hello, Alex. Ovi Patel. What's on JCS special dividend? It's not one I've heard of. JCS. What are we looking at? JCS communication systems, presumably. Ooh, if you mean that, then yeah, I wouldn't like to sort of say a great deal of that. Yeah, you have to post in the comments if you mean that one. 90 million sort of real penny stock. Wouldn't like to say too much. So Seth, what's my favourite alt crypto? Well, yeah, your next question, Ethereum, probably is Ethereum, really. Actually, Cardano, I mean, if you've seen the portfolio updates, Cardano is my second place, actually, just because I haven't added to either of them for a long while. Cardano's overtaken Ethereum, but sort of Cardano obviously a long way behind Ethereum in development, so there's potentially more upside for Cardano, but I would say Ethereum sort of is the safer bet. It's what sort of the majority of things are being built on top of. £10,000 maybe is a little bit bullish for this cycle. Depends on how long the cycle lasts. Yeah, if we're getting a top this year, then maybe sort of 10,000 is probably a little bit optimistic, but if it is going to sort of lengthen into next year, as a lot of people think it potentially will do, then yeah, I guess £10,000 is possible. We got to what did we get to? £3,000. Yeah, just about £3,000. Probably was actually just over 3,000 sort of intraday. So yeah, 3 to 10 certainly possible, but would be on the optimistic side. Alex, thoughts on Microsoft? It's growth, it's expensive growth, but the growth is there, unlike some of the others. You've really got to look. Their sort of revenue growth been fairly consistent, but sort of ticking up reasonably fast in the last sort of 5 years. I think profits as well. Yeah, I mean, you look at that, sort of since 2019, they had a little bit of a drop as well in 2018, but fairly consistent and very, very fast growing. So yeah, they're on sort of, whatever, they're on 35 forward PEs, but yeah, it's potentially worth the growth if we're going to carry on in the bull market, potentially more money printing and that sort of thing. It'll probably go into tech, into ECFs and that sort of thing, and that just means more Apple and Microsoft and Amazon and all the rest of them. But yeah, I sort of think Amazon's obviously extremely expensive on the ratios, but yeah, a lot of people sort of just focus on the operating cash flow and that sort of thing and say that it's worth it, but a little bit more of a risk. Apple, I don't think, are growing enough to justify the sort of the ratios that they're at. Facebook, I'm not really all that confident in the business model long term, to be honest. So yeah, Microsoft sort of seems to be the one that just quietly goes about their business and makes an awful lot of money. But yeah, it's a little bit pricey for me. I'm not really into this super high growth at the moment. Craig, you bought more Rio, oversold. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know if you've seen the not macro trends, iron ore. Yeah, so obviously Rio Tinto's quite heavily on iron ore, and I mean just in 2 months, yeah, pretty much 2 months, we've gone from $220 to $104. So yeah, I suppose it is justified. The drop, interesting, was still above sort of average pre-COVID prices, and sort of through the start of COVID, sort of had little spikes, but yeah, previous sort of 2 or 3 years we were sort of around the 80s, so still at 104. If you're going to have a bit of a bounce back, maybe could be buying the drop, but obviously you're sort of slightly catching a falling knife with this sort of drop in iron ore. They got a bit of copper and a bit of aluminium that sort of isn't doing so bad. So yeah, they've got that to back them up. Copper obviously sort of holding its own really, only topped at sort of 475 and they're still at over 4, which is quite heavily above pre-COVID prices. So yeah, you're looking at sort of 60% more than pre-COVID. So yeah, should get a bit of cash out of that. I will be buying Rio if we get any sort of reasonable move in crypto in the next couple of months. You can tell. Oh, is that the JCS special dividend? I mean, £90 million or $90 million market cap. I just wouldn't put too much focus on special dividends and that sort of thing. It's as you say, could be a pump and dump stock. Such a tiny market cap. We didn't look whether they were actually making any money or anything. So declining revenue for the last 4 years, 3 years. Making a loss. Been making a loss most years. Yeah, haven't really sort of obviously looked into even what they do, but I wouldn't be sort of buying it just on the basis of a dividend. Normally the dividend amount will come off the share price on the day anyway, so yeah, ex-dividend in 9 days, yeah, so you could get sort of $3.50 come off that share price sort of on the day, so yeah, interesting. Seth, thoughts on AMP coin? A couple of people have asked me that actually. I haven't seen a great deal about it. Where it is sort of in terms of rankings. I don't even know what it is. I owned £3 worth because I got some free on Coinbase Earn. But that is the extent of my holdings. So, digital collateral token. Networks like Flexer can quickly and irreversibly secure transactions. I'd have to have a read up. A bit more of a read up on it. How old is it? Started September last year, assuming that's right. Yeah, I haven't really sort of got on very many of the new coins, to be honest. Probably best sort of asking someone else. Kind of still holding my sort of bags from the 2017, sort of 2018 run, to be honest. When I say bags, I don't mean I'm in a loss. It's more just the amounts that I accumulated during that period. Most of them are sort of fairly well in profit. But yeah, not really my specialty, some of these new coins. Craig, could you explain how crypto is actually going to work? Been told you can only have so much of it as it's mined. There's so much about many of the new ones all the time. Oh, you've not really looked into it too much then. Yeah, so like you take Bitcoin itself as an example, because that's sort of fairly simple. So there's 18.8 million in the wild at the moment, but there's a hard cap of 21 million, which will be the remainder of which will be mined over the next 119 years. That's the plan. 2140 is the final date for the final mined blocks. So you've got 90% of the supply is out in the wild at the moment. and obviously the miners mine this and get a reward at the moment, I think, of 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So obviously that's spread amongst all of the miners around the world. So they all get a small portion of that every 10 minutes, and they would generally sort of keep some back, sell some, and that together with sort of everyone else's coins, whoever wants to sell, is what's on the market basically. So yes, it's fixed supply, and obviously not everyone can have some, but you don't have to sort of mine it to get some. You can buy fairly readily available on exchanges, and yeah, it's not sort of locked away as such. But yeah, drop any more sort of specific questions you've got in there. If you want to do any, I can't think sort of who would be the best sort of beginners info to look at really. So a lot of these sort of YouTube channels kind of assume that you already know a reasonable amount about Bitcoin. I sort of watch Altcoin Daily, and I haven't watched Data Dash in quite a while. Could maybe have a look at some of Data Dash on YouTube's sort of older videos. Maybe he's got a sort of a beginner playlist. I've always found him quite level-headed and quite good at sort of explaining things like this. As far as sort of the altcoins go, yes, there are a hell of a lot. You've got 12,000 now. I was going to say 8,000 if I hadn't have saw that. They're popping up all the time now. Half of them will probably not make the year out. Yeah, so you had sort of Ethereum start up a few years after Bitcoin, and you've got sort of various other coins. So Cardano's sort of a competitor to Ethereum. You've got Tether, which is sort of what they call a stable coin. It's just pegged to $1, so that'll always stay around $1 in theory. And you have lots of other sort of versions of different people's stable coins. Binance USD, USDC, which is the I can't remember which one that is. It's yeah, it's another stable coin. But yeah, then yeah, you've got sort of other tokens. Binance Coin is the sort of native token that people use for the Binance exchange. Does sort of various different things. They've started introducing sort of functionality similar to Ethereum really for Binance, and that's what they use that token for. XRP is sort of the banker's coin. They're going after sort of integration with traditional finance. Interesting. Solana, sort of another competitor really with Ethereum and Cardano. Same as Polkadot. That does seem to be the sort of big coins at the moment. And then Dogecoin, which is a joke. But yeah, if you want any more info, don't hesitate to ask. So, interesting to see where the old crypto is going to go. It's getting a bit behind the stock to flow model now. We had around this time already at $100,000, so still sort of hovering around less than half of that. Taking a bit of a dip the last few days with this Evergrande news. Not 100% sure whether it's all because of that. It does tend to sort of do its own thing. But yeah, it did sort of lag slightly behind the sort of exact line back in 2017, but yeah, certainly went up there, sort of past the line not too long after. So to be sort of, what were we, a month, 2 months past the top, yeah, does call into question how accurate the model is. We've got the other model, which I think most people are starting to question now. That has us already at 255,000. So yeah, he's sort of saying that this is going to be an average for, I guess, now until the next halving, which is sort of middle of 2024. So yeah, could potentially get there, but we'd have to spend quite a bit of time. I saw a Benjamin Karen video today, sort of kind of disagreeing with this model. Obviously, to get an average of this sort of price, you'd need to spend a hell of a long time above 280,000 for that to average out, because we're already only, every day now that we're not at 250,000 or even 100,000 is sort of keeping that average low. So you'd then either have to go a lot higher than that line, or you'd have to go higher for a lot longer to bring this average up to that sort of price. So yeah, I tend to sort of focus on the original chart that he did. Seems to, for the most part, be reasonably accurate. I think he did only do the chart in sort of middle of 2019, so obviously all this is sort of back tested. He didn't sort of, put it there back in 2011 and it's just gone and done all of this. That'd be a little bit sort of ambitious to be able to predict all of that. But still very interesting chart. He seems to know a lot about the sort of traditional finance system. I believe that's his background. Now he's seemingly not all in Bitcoin. He certainly sort of tweets about it, but I think he said he's still sort of very interested in traditional finance as well. But yeah, interesting character. Any more questions? I attempted to top up polymetal, sentiment, etc. despite all my large exposure to gold. Yeah, that's what I mean. It is fairly large as it is. I mean, the IG account is at sort of 54,000. It's basically entirely gold and silver. And then I've got polymetal, sentiment, and I suppose you even throw Sylvania Platinum in there as well. Sort of fairly big exposure as it is. So no, I think I'd sort of leave it as is. I did get £200 worth of dividends in the IG account from sort of Barrick and various other ones, and put that all into Kinross rather than the others. But yeah, polymetal and that sort of thing probably would just wait now until hopefully the price rises. Sort of other stuff that I'd want to be putting any new money in, and probably even dividends as well. I don't reinvest the dividends back into sort of polymetal and sentiment. So yeah, most people sort of recommend, obviously I'm more bullish gold and silver than them, but they would sort of recommend 5 to 10% of your portfolio in gold, which yeah would be sort of 20, if you include the crypto and everything, would be 25 grand on the sort of 5% side, maybe 50 grand. So yeah, I guess I'm not drastically over if you were to say 10% gold. But yeah, not all that keen to be sort of topping it up at these prices. There's quite a few sectors and sort of even regions that I still don't have a lot of exposure to, so I'm sort of adding things elsewhere at the moment. If we keep getting these sort of drastic dips in crypto, then obviously it's very tempting to shun the relatively small returns that you can get with stocks for this sort of thing. Could all blow up in my face, but yeah, I'm very tempted to sort of put this £500, say, this week into internet computer. Does look good. I'm not focusing on, if you go on YouTube, all you see is, you know, internet computer to $10,000 or something. They're just pump and dumpers who were probably, well, maybe not pump and dumpers, but bag holders, as we say. Sort of a lot of people bought this the day it came out, and sort of the week or two leading afterwards, I think it went to like $700 on the day or something. This doesn't even show it. It shows it at £300, so it'd be about $400. But yeah, I think it opened at like $700. So if anybody bought any at that, you know, sitting at sort of 6-7% of the price. So they're obviously trying to get other people to sort of recoup some of their losses, maybe. But yeah, if you bought anywhere sort of down here, then yeah, I think it's a reasonable project. I do notice yeah, all of these videos that are calling for 10,000, say, a lot of them are sort of saying 2026, like a 5-year plan. You sort of think half of the altcoins have only been out a year or two. You're already talking about 5-year plans or 10-year plans. Some people sort of making, you know, the year 2030 price predictions for this. So I think it's been out 4 months. Don't even know if it's going to be around. Yeah, I tend to sort of think a little bit shorter term, with crypto at least. But just not get all that worried by drops. Let it do its thing, but don't try and predict it long term. It's a bit of a fool's game. Wonder how some of the other commodities are doing. Everyone's getting worked up on lithium and sort of small cap lithium stocks. So this is going on a rise. 40,000 yuan per ton. Come up to sort of 90,000 earlier in the year, and yeah, just soar into all-time new highs, I guess. Still thought sort of a lot of the lithium miners looked a little bit expensive, but I guess if you were predicting this sort of uptick in usage, then they were maybe reasonable value at that sort of price. But yeah, not sure I can get on board with it. Obviously, I think, sort of agree, electric cars are going to be the future. Haven't sort of looked into great detail at how much demand that is actually going to bring. Obviously, you've got your existing uses for lithium that aren't sort of hugely going to change, I presume. Still wondering whether this inflation is going to be transitory. We haven't got all of the sort of other base metals and that sort of thing. Are they up here? Ah, yeah. So, what else we got? I haven't looked at these in a while. So lumber. It's interesting. May have bottomed. It was in the sort of mid to high 500s. Come back up to 600 now. I know everyone's sort of obviously comparing it to the top and saying look how much it's dropped and all that sort of thing, but again, similar to iron ore, you know, all of sort of pre-COVID and yeah, for a sort of good couple of years there was a little spike up to 600, 630 odd, but yeah, for most of this period it was sort of in the 400s. So yeah, we're 50% higher than sort of pre-COVID levels, and potentially sort of recovering again. So still not sure about the this inflation. How it's all temporary and it's all going to be gone soon, back to normal. Not sure I believe it. Coal, I keep saying, yeah, still rising up. I guess as supply gets taken away to try and move to renewables, price is going to go up. Wheat, interesting one, sort of slight uptrend if you were to sort of draw a line all the way through there. Sort of looking at 600 odd, up to sort of close to 700, and then I mean, yeah, that's just one great big trend upwards. So sort of 2019 again, pre-COVID, you're at sort of mid 500s, low 500s. Now it's 690. Whether it's going to come down, we don't know. Longer term, yes, it's been higher. You're in the high 800s, but only for a short while. Does it give you long term? So it is up and down. But yeah, certainly last few years, been seeing a bit of an uptrend. Any questions? Hello, Happy Dapper. Did you decide to buy any of the recent dip on Sylvania? Rhodium looks to have bottomed out around 11,000. Has now upticked to around 30. Oh, I haven't seen the rhodium price. 13,500. That's good. I haven't bought the dip. I mean, again, sort of similar to Adam's question, really, but even more so. So I've got 5,250 shares. I expect with the recent dip, probably back into sort of penny stock territory. So I sort of count $250 million really as a penny stock. So they're 237 million pounds. So yeah, I mean, you know, pretty much a penny stock, which I've got £5,000 in, which I don't normally put a huge amount into penny stocks. Obviously, I've looked into to this one quite a bit. They're sort of very profitable, no debt, and all that sort of thing. Can't really see why it's sort of in that territory. Why we've got such a low PE and that sort of thing. You know, this would obviously be a sort of $1 billion if you were at, you know, even sort of FTSE 100 levels of PE. But yeah, people don't like sort of anything in South Africa, I guess, and sort of anything mining, anything to do with old petrol and diesel cars. It's got a lot going against it, but I just sort of think, yeah, should be fine longer term. But no, it's sort of 5,000 quid in what is near enough a penny stock. I just sort of see as much as I would want to have, really. So no plans to sell it at this price, but no plans to sort of buy any at the moment. Again, there's sort of other things that I would want to be topping up on. If it's not a huge part of your position, then I can certainly see why people would want to top up at this price. Yeah, and sort of, again, on top of that, my average price is about 70p, so I wouldn't be sort of averaging down on this dip, I'd be averaging up. So yeah, I'm not all that keen to be doing that. Good to know that rhodium is sort of coming back though. Can you get rhodium on here? Tend to look at Mathy. Not sure if this is the best one to keep an eye on really, but yeah, so you got platinum sort of on a reasonable downtrend in the last month. So longer term still looks okay. And the 5 year, yeah, a little bit of a rise sort of earlier this year, but back down to sort of reasonable long-term ranges. Palladium is the sort of more of the mover because diesels have sort of trailed off. Platinum used more in the diesels and palladium used more in the petrols, so palladium's getting a lot of use. Still used even in hybrid vehicles, so yeah, that's on a reasonable long-term price. Obviously, if you look at the last month or two, then obviously it's taken a drop. But yeah, when in doubt, zoom out, as they say. And rhodium obviously looks very, very odd. A little bit of a spike. Interesting. So yeah, as you say, around sort of 11 and a half, potentially starting to trend up, but have seen this sort of in the last few months, little rises up when you think that's over. 17,500 up to sort of 19,700. You start thinking, maybe we're tricking up a little bit, and then yeah, sort of get these sell-offs. So I'll believe it a little bit more when we maybe get sort of a whole month of uptrend and sort of reasonable prices. Until then, carry on and wait. Should still be fine. I mean, they're, as I say, no debt and sort of reasonably profitable even at these levels. Alright. Guess I'll hang around for a little while, see if there's any more questions, maybe wrap it up. Patchy's Collection, hello, not seen you before. Just a quick question, do you shop online to buy stuff for a collection like me? You love to collect things. I don't really collect a huge amount, to be honest. Yeah, sort of had a small video games collection, but recently sort of sold that. Didn't think it was sort of going to rise particularly anymore. Sort of had some old Nintendo 64 games and PlayStation games and that sort of thing, PlayStation 1 games. Yeah, so I decided to get rid of all that. Yeah, so I'm not really a collector, I would guess. Collect different crypto, if that counts, but yeah, not really hugely into it at the moment. Maybe later on, Let us know what you like to collect though. You can see a very small picture of what I presume is a large collection in your avatar. So, what are we doing at the moment? Under £31,000 on Bitcoin. Taking a real drop. Oh, did go under 30. Should really look at this in dollars, but yeah, more handy to sort of look in pounds if you're thinking of selling. Wouldn't be selling here, of course, but just to be consistent. I quite like having sort of sell targets at pound price levels, because it's not sort of where a lot of other people would think to be selling. You know, if you sort of set a target of, say, well, I do kind of set my targets of, you know, say $70,000, $85,000, and then sort of $100,000. But if you say you want to sell some at $100,000, you're hardly going to be alone. Obviously, everyone's going to be having that thought. A lot of people will sort of front run it and put, you know, sell orders in for sort of 99,500, 99,750, and that sort of thing. So yeah, maybe a little bit difficult to do that. So maybe sort of roughly the equivalent in pounds, maybe a sort of less significant price. You know, maybe do whatever, say 98,000 in pounds. You'd say a sell target maybe about, you know, 71,000, 70,000 maybe pounds. Just sort of, hopefully you wouldn't get so much volatility at that level. You wouldn't get so many people trying to sell at the same price. Probably will be volatile, obviously, when we get to that level, but I mean, you don't get sort of a wall of sell orders at exactly $100,000. Right, I'll guess we'll call it there. Just give it one more minute, see if there's any last questions. Thought just do a quick stream, see how you guys are. Still looking forward to the end of the year. Not too much happening in the portfolio. I guess some of you probably noticed it's a little bit slow going. But you've got to keep patient with these things. If you know, with my crypto, I've been extremely patient with that. Bought in 2013, so you do have to learn to just take a little bit of a step back and let it do its thing. Try not to focus too much on the day-to-day. I know sort of a lot of people, I'm in the Discord server. A lot of people sort of measuring their daily performance, even weekly performance, sort of taking putting a huge amount of stock in that. It really sort of, I do for the YouTube videos, look at the weekly performance, but don't take a huge amount of notice really. Yeah, we'll see where we get to at the end of the year, maybe sort of January, February time. Okay, I shall see you guys soon. Normal service resume on Saturday and Sunday.